It's the year 2022 and I can't believe that I'm saying this, but Naturia Beast or Naturias as an archetype is part of a tier 0 deck, a potential tier 0 deck for us TCG players as well. You know how, if you have been keeping up with the OCG format, the OCG metagame ever since Konami a couple of weeks ago, they kind of hit Sprite, they banned Totally Awesome, and Sprite is still there, Buster Lock, that shenanigans, but about half of the format is pretty much tier elements with, of course, the Ishizu cards. But take a look at this list. This particular list I found, or was featured on Reddit. Apparently, this particular player went, at least got first place, and went 8-0 in this format, in the ridiculous format that the OCG is with all of the Ishizu cards. So what's the gimmick of this deck? Obviously, it's a combination of Naturia cards. Most of them are pretty new. I haven't read them up until a couple of hours ago before diving in to these new cards. They are packed up or paired up with the Ishizu cards. So what's the point of the deck? Very short, they got a couple of new cards. The most important ones are these two. So I'm not familiar with the name Camellia, which is basically an Armageddonite upon summon. Plus, it can make it so that as soon as you use your Naturia monster's effects, let's say negating a spell and trap or negating a monster effect with these, you can, instead of tributing a Naturia on the field, just mill 2 cards. So again, very similar to Naturia Beast, right? Mill the top cards from your deck. And that goes quite conveniently really well with all the Ishizu cards. But it's short set, having, these two, so a Camellia, the level 4 tuner, and the level 1 mole cricket on the field. You kind of have a double negation once per turn, which is basically for free. Of course, your Mole Cricket, it's basically a Lone Fire Blossom for your Naturia cards, but it can reborn itself as soon as you use it for a synchro summon for a Naturia monster, or if your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck, it reborns itself. And that's the most important part, it becomes a Rescue Rabbit effect, special summon 2 instead of 1, if your opponent controls the strongest monster. I mean, if the attack points are equal, doesn't matter, you can special summon up to 2 Naturias from the deck. So that's where, all the one-offs come into play. They have a negate attack that immediately ends the battle phase, this one, the level 3, and then the level 2 negates monster effects. That becomes twice per turn, because that effect is not once per turn if you have the level 4 on the field, this one, Camellia. And they have Spell and Trap Negator, the level 1 being Vayne. They have a Monster Reborn, which is again not once per turn, and then their Trap. Their Trap is a hero lives, that's fine, but the ridiculous part is that when it's sent to the graveyard, free mills with your Ishizu cards, you can search any, Naturia cards from your deck and add it to your hand. So it's super consistent too, and you'll see it in a couple of replays, to search either for these two. You want to open with these two, or one of them. One of them is fine. Because again, that gets your multiple negations going. And as you know, the Ishizu cards are not new, it works the same way. Free mills, you have Curious, for example, to go full on your Exchange of the Spirit, to, this Broken Trap being Graveskeeper's Trap, which again, in mirror matches of tier elements, this card immediately wins you the duel. And the funny part is that this particular deck, if you're playing against a mirror match, and with that I mean tier elements Ishizu, you should have the advantage, because you are almost not hindered by your opponent's DD Crow-alike Ishizu cards. While the other way around, you can use your DD Crow Ishizu cards against your opponent's tier elements. So that's where this deck definitely comes into play, showing how ridiculous this is. And the strategy is just to protect the Naturia Beast, potentially synchro summon during your opponent's turn with all of those cards, right? So let's see a couple of example games. Okay, so first example. Okay, Sword Soul is not really the most popular deck currently in the OCG, but again, it's just to showcase the potential combos of the deck, right? So, there are a couple of ways. You could either go for your normal summon of the red Naturia, which is again an Armageddonite from, the deck, send something, search something, and the Ishizu cards are there to start milling, for example. Plus, and that's the thing, like you can mill the trap to get those, searches, because again, that's not once per turn, and Monster Reborn is also not once per turn. The level 1 is special summoned again because I used it for a synchro summon for Naturia Beast. I get Nibiru, that's fine though, because again, I can use my level 2, tribute another Naturia on the field, including itself, to negate a monster effect. Sadly, I didn't control this one, Camellia I believe the name is, to get that free double mill and, you know, no need to tribute, but that's fine. Like this particular field is basically full combo. I don't think I have Exchange of the Spirit in the graveyard, but again, as soon as my opponent summons a monster, because my red Naturia is on the field, I can reborn a monster as a preferably your rescue rabbit, and hopefully, well here in this case my opponent didn't control the strongest monster, so I can tag out, but Lone Fire Blossom, just one special summon something from the deck. So here in this case, because I have the combo going for Naturia Beast, I have double monster negation plus inevitable, you know, infinite spell and trap, well, spell negation here in case of Naturia Beast, but that's again fantastic. It's very hard for a lot of decks to deal with that, and again, as I mentioned before, if you're, at least if you know, or if you're playing against a non-Ishizu deck, you can just start milling for free, because I don't think there's anything to fear against pretty much all of the current top tier decks, not even the, whatchamacallit, the Tangy package, because you can just send them back to the deck with your Ishizu cards. But it kind of feels that this, you know, Naturia engine with Ishizu is basically an, well, not really an infinite engine, but the thing is that you can keep sending your traps back to the deck, for example, or send back your engine back to the deck, keep searching your spells, which quite conveniently you can send back to the deck. This deck is so ridiculous. And Naturia Beast and Barkion, obviously, but I mean, the core combo of the deck is again your Camellia, your level 4 red Naturia monster, you know, the Armageddonite one, and then the level 1 that, you know, can tag out with the level 2 for double monster negation, again, for free, all for free. Ridiculous, no? So, next matchup is against the current top tier deck. In the OCG, both decks are main decking Nexus and Heralds. Again, as you saw in the deck list, hand traps are falling from main deck, or at least are falling from the main deck. Players are only running Maxi, obviously, and Heralds. That's basically it. Anyway, so this is fine. The Kid Kalo is on my opponent's side of the field. I'm not going to negate that. I'm not going to, you know, DD Crow-alike monsters or send them back to the deck, because I want my opponent to have a stronger monster, because again, I want that double rescue, well, that rescue rabbit effect. So now I have double monster negation life. I can freely, you know, set up my board, go for Gravekeeper's Trap. The thing is that, okay, I have Exchange of the Spirit in the grave. Yes, that is so balanced. I have Exchange of the Spirit in graveyard, so now my opponent cannot use any graveyard effects, nor Reborn from the graveyard. So that's game. You can, you know, start milling. You don't need to fear your opponent milling those tier elements. Like, imagine not having the trap in the graveyard, Exchange of the Spirit. You have to keep in mind that you can't, you know, keep milling just because you want to mill. Again, you don't want to give your opponent that much, at least that, you know, unnecessary advantage, right? So again, as I mentioned before, double tag out, because again, my opponent is controlling the strongest monster. And as you see, there is a once per turn attack negation, ending the battle phase with Vayne, I believe the name is, that protects your Naturia Beast, and then your engine is on the field. You can negate spells with Naturia Beast. Here in this case, the Gravekeeper Trap is there. Okay, that's cool. But I mean, my whole Naturia engine is intact. You can keep, you know, that double monster negation going and slowly picking your opponent apart with like standard rank 4 exceed plays like Dweller, for example, like, which is fantastic here in the matchup. And again, like rank 4 is super easy with those Ishizu cards as well. So this kind of feels ridiculous. We saw that, you know, Sprite took top tier, tier 0. Then when Totally Awesome got banned, we saw that the tier elements with the Ishizu card is now pretty much tier 0, almost tier 0. Is this going to be our new standard? I'm not sure. But the thing is that, like, this version of the deck is not too hindered by the DD Crow effect-like cards, unlike, you know, the Ishizu cards and tier elements. Like, if you send them back to the deck, your opponent can't fusion summon. So this is something to definitely, you know, explore upon. Eager to see how this is going to turn out in the OCG format. Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment or like if you enjoyed the video. Victim signing out. Peace.